You just saw President Biden there. Well, interestingly enough, according to a recent poll, President Joe Biden's approval ratings are gigantic, certainly when compared to his predecessors. The Associated Press now has Mr. Biden at 63%. That means 63% of Americans polled seem to approve of how he's handling the country. Why? The explanations may have to do with the fact that, unlike his predecessor, he's not bombastic or barely even visible, comparatively speaking. But the real reason for his popularity may have to do with what he's promised to do: create more jobs through a huge infrastructure plan, tax the rich, provide college tuition for free, increase Medicare, Medicaid. The list so far, and there's a lot more to it, seems to read like a dessert menu for progressives. But is there a catch? My next guest says, you betcha. Chris Hedges is an award-winning former New York Times correspondent, the host of On Contact here at RT America, and he's written a column where he warns Americans with these words: don't be fooled by Joe Biden. Chris joins us live now to explain what he is saying in his column. Explain to us, Chris, what you mean by don't be fooled by the guy with a 63% AP approval rating right now.
Well, he has a high approval rating, as did Obama when he came into office. Obama was also compared to FDR and then turned out, to quote the phrase by my friend Cornel West, to be a black mascot for Wall Street. Biden has long served the interests of the business elites, and he was chosen by Obama to be the vice president because, in essence, he has voted Republican. They used to call him Senator Credit Card. Most of the big credit card companies are based in Delaware. He has, he was an author of the Patriot Act, NAFTA, on and on and on. And then, of course, in the clash with Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party elite made it very clear. Lloyd Blankfein, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, and other major figures in the Democratic Party said that if Sanders was the nominee, they would vote for Trump. Trump was distasteful in that he didn't bring the gravitas and decorum to the management of empire that the elites want. They knew Biden would do that. And when you look at his plan, and remember, Biden on the campaign trail had said that he would, when he got to office, write $2,000 stimulus checks. That got reduced to $1,400. The $15 minimum wage has collapsed. His infrastructure plan is clearly going to be whittled down by the Senate, and his COVID relief package is essentially handing large sums of money to states and to corporations. It's just another version of trickle-down economics.
So then how
doesn't work.
How is it that all my friends and the folks that I interview from time to time on the right can have it so wrong? They say he's a communist, a socialist, that he's going to absolutely give away the country to all the poor people and the rich are going to be out of luck. I mean, they literally have a converse view of him than you do. Explain that to us.
Well, but that was true in the Obama administration, Rick. I mean, they made those same charges against Obama when the track record is quite clear. Obama served the interests of Wall Street, indeed bailed Wall Street out, bailed out the people who carried out the financial fraud at the expense of the victims of that fraud. So that's a rhetorical feint. I'm not sure they believe it. And in fact, I think most of them are probably quite comfortable with Biden. Biden is not going to touch structurally the for-profit health care system. He has called for an increase in his budget. Military budget will buy $11 billion, 1.6% increase, and that's over $750 billion. I think that's just a part of the kind of political game. But the reality is that he has always been and remains essentially a creature of the corporate elites.
So he then would be what the idiom or expression is, a walking representation of that saying we hear all the time, that nowadays in America there really is no difference between a Democrat and a Republican. Is that right?
Well, there is a difference, but there isn't much of a difference. So let's talk about his call to tax the rich. Well, what he's really talking about is restoring tax rates that doesn't even reach pre-Trump levels. Remember, under Reagan, the wealthiest corporations and individuals were taxed at 40%. Go back to Eisenhower, Republican president, the legacy of the New Deal, you're talking 91%. So There's certainly movement, but it's not significant movement. It doesn't threaten the death grip that the corporate power has on our political system. And let's be clear, the Goldman Sachs, there is no way to vote against the interests of Goldman Sachs in our political system, whether you're voting for Trump or whether you're voting for Biden.
Do you believe he, Joe Biden, the man, knows that much of what he's saying isn't true and isn't going to come to pass, that he's actually being dishonest?
That's a good question. I think he's shown that he's pretty intellectually limited in the same way that George W. Bush was intellectually limited. In some ways, this makes Obama more culpable because he wasn't intellectually limited. I'm not sure what Biden knows and what Biden doesn't know. He strikes me as a pretty empty vessel. He is, throughout his political career, shifted with the winds. Remember, he was the super predator, and he orchestrated the whole militarization of the police, the explosion of mass incarceration, the 3 strikes you're outlaws, even though his own son struggled with addiction. I sense a kind of vacuity there, but again, that's conjecture.
Sounds like he's a guy who's then playing a role.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does. I mean, that's what political theater is about. You play a role. Look, Reagan, Reagan did that very well. And so did Trump. I mean, let's hand it to Trump. He did it better than Jeb Bush and Mitt Romney and all the others. But that's what it's become. It's not about substance. It's about playing a role, and he plays a role. It's kind of like being there. They trot him out, and he reads from the teleprompter.
Chris Hedges. Nobody like him. Thanks, Chris. Always a great conversation. Thanks for the column. Thanks for the wisdom. Appreciate your thoughts.